is an astrologer. Sandra Morin is an astrologer. She's a very good astrologer. She's been very helpful to me and others that I know. And she's also been one of the most excellent students, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the world of Genekeys. Any of us who do the work of the Genekeys, we really are students. There's a constant and a never-ending learning process, but it's a joyful one. We enjoy it. And so I'm really excited to have Sandra here and have her share also about her. She's got a book, which maybe she can hold up right now, actually. She's got a book called Game Changer, which is really for any of those of you who are going through anything in relationships right now, which is probably pretty much the world right now, based upon the astrology of this time, you know, the Game Changer book that she co-wrote with her co-author, Michael, I forget Michael's last name.
Hellier.
Michael Hellier. They co-wrote this book, and you know, that it's been getting rave reviews as people have been able to use it to help them in their relationships. So she's going to bring in a bit of everything. Because she's got such a diverse background and knowledge, and we're going to talk Genekeys, and we're going to talk astrology, and we're going to actually invite a couple of folks on who are going to, who she's going to do some kind of mini readings for of their charts. We've got their charts ready, provided technology works and everything. We'll be able to share it here. And, but welcome, Sandra.
Well, thank you. This is really exciting. And I think it's going to be really powerful because we have the new moon energies, the Cancer energies, which is really powerful. So it's excellent timing. We're also halfway through 2020, which is the huge wake up. Okay, there's lots of changes going on, and I welcome everyone here, and I just want to share a little bit about astrology. First and foremost, I met Mathew and we started working together, and I'm in my 7th decade. That's all I'm going to say, and I've been doing this for about 50 years, and astrology and self-discovery, and I'm still learning. And yes, I jumped into the Genekeys. It's based on the I Ching, you can tell them, but it's also based on astrology. So I just flowed with it, and I've done a lot of the trainings with him, and it is something like my astrology that I will do forever. Okay. I am a member of ISAR, so every Sunday I do courses and classes with people around the world to keep up with the astrology. And so I want to say, people will usually know when we say astrology, it's okay, like I'm a sun sign, I'm an Aries, I'm this, I'm that. That's one thing. And you can actually have a natal chart done, okay, which you take into consideration the location, the time of your birth, the month, day, and the year, and it sets up, it's like a blueprint. So it's like I can read this blueprint, its possibilities, its opportunities. Now, this statement you will always remember, my very first class with one of my first astrology teachers, she's about in her 90s now, still teaching, still traveling, lecturing.
Astrology is good for longevity, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Because it's all about self-discovery. Okay. And the neat thing is, the very first class, I'll never forget, she put it up, a transparency in those days. And she said, tell me about these people. Tell me about this person. Half of the class said this person was a saint. Half of the class said this person was evil and a sinner. Okay. Yeah. And guess whose chart it was? Charles Manson. So it could have gone either way. There's many variables. There's past lives. There's lots of different things. Okay. So
the interpretation, obviously, by the person reading it, right?
That's right. And so, yeah. Right. But the neat thing is, right now, today, what we're going to play with, I don't know these charts. Mathew just sent them. But the neat thing is, yeah, it's like...
Put her on the spot, folks.
It's like a weather report. So I've never seen these people. I've never talked to anyone. You're going to put the chart up and I can just say, wow, this is what they're looking at right now. This is what's happening in their life. I add a little of numerology, but I want to keep it really simple because I'm not into the intellectual and giving you all the facts. I want to say, okay, this is what the energetic system is for in this particular part of your life, because you have to remember we all have the planets, but the planets move. Okay, so why did I know January 10, 11, and 12 we were going to get hit? Because
Well, I was going to say something about that. Yeah.
yeah,
Sandra was telling me and Nicole, my wife, many months in advance. She says, you watch out. January the 10th, 11th, 12th, something's going to be changing. We'll see something happening there, and it's just going to totally flip 2020 on its side. And she didn't know what. You didn't know what from the charts. You just know something was going to happen. And that's when we really saw COVID break out here in North America, or it became apparent that it was working its way through North America, or at least that the media was beginning to give it more attention at the very least. So there was definitely something powerful happening there. And yeah, I wanted to make mention of that.
Yeah, and so as soon as you said that, Mathew, I got goosebumps all over my body, because that particular setup, as I can say it, the planets are set up with degrees and times, started way back in 2007 and 2008. And what started it was the Bernie Madoff scheme, the corruption, the loans and savings and whatever. And what we're dealing with is cleanup of corruption, power, evil, deceit, lies, and things will be revealed that will absolutely shock you right to the core. And this is going to go on December 20th. We're going to, some of them move because we're working with moving more into the Aquarian energy. But guess what? Collectively, we can see it, but it's also happening within. And that's why I love the Genekeys and the astrology, because they go together and we can actually work as a team. You're part of the team. I need to be able to interact with that person, just as you and I interact, Mathew, and see, to be able to help somebody, because there's a lot of confusion right now. There's truth versus non-truth, confusion within because of the high anxiety.
Right.
So it will clarify. So that sounds good. So if you would like.
So that's the energy that we're sitting in right now. And so with these events playing out, with everything happening, it's, rather than acting on that confusion, it's helpful to just be with it, to breathe into it, to feel it, to accept it, right?
And to own it. That's another thing, Mathew, is, and we talk about, I think another thing with the Genekeys and the shadow is you can really do, with the Genekeys, go into the ancestral and your DNA and what was happening when you were in the womb and that type of thing. There's a lot of healing. And in astrology, it's like, I can see, and it's purpose. What's your purpose and what's your meaning? And I guess for me, that was the whole thing. It's like, who am I and why am I here? And people are asking that right now. And so you can help clarify that, because that brings them meaning, because they found that the material isn't feeding the soul.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. You mentioned too that it's a new moon in Capricorn right now.
New moon in Cancer right now.
Oh, sorry, Cancer. What does that mean for us?
So what that means is Cancer is ruled by the moon. So guess what? It's the new moon and it's at home. However, Cancer can be a little bit moody. So you can be a little bit sensitive. You can be a little bit irritable, that type of thing. All has to do with home. It has to do with security and safety and feeling comfortable and feeling settled. However, when we talk about home, we don't just talk about our physical home, which right now a lot of people are having trouble with payments and not sure where they're going to live or their jobs. But the most important thing, this home, and in astrology, the fourth house talks about real estate and home and whatever. But it's really our home, which is our body, to the home of our soul. So this goes really, really deep. This is a really intense moon, a new moon. And remember, it's about new beginnings, and you have to close the door to open a new door. And so be gentle with yourself, because you will be emotional and other people will be emotional. So are you going to react or are you going to respond?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Awesome. So that's what we can expect in this. You're giving a hint to that. And as we bring on these other people with their and read their charts tonight, we'll be getting hints for what's happening in the collective over the next number of months, but also what's happening for them individually based upon their charts, right?
Exactly. And it's interesting because I do have them and I just filled them in. I have no idea. I've never seen these people. I'm just feeling their energy here, and they're all quite different. So I'm really excited, and I think they're going to be able to, we're going to be able to communicate back and forth. And if they say to me, no, Sandra, I think that's a little crazy, that's fine. You can say that. This is what I'm doing.
This is you as the White Witch. So everybody's rare, you know, because that's your nickname going around, isn't it? People call you the White Witch.
I know.
One of the most,
it's
yeah. Sandra's one of the most unique individuals I've met, and she's so, you know, it's like when we explore the gene keys, and she was talking there about sort of being in our physical bodies, and this is our home, and the activation sequence of the gene keys is very much to do with that. It's grounding in our physical bodies at this time. So there's a lot of people doing the activation sequence of their gene keys right now, because it's just a really good time to find that home within here. And one of the interests, you brought up a good point there too. It's like we're looking at we've got gene keys charts, we've got astrology charts. Sometimes, you know, I can't look at astrology charts and really know what's going on, right? And other people will say that about gene keys charts, whereas I feel quite home looking at a gene key chart. You feel very home looking at the astrology chart. And what's important to remember with all of them is they're systems that support us. And ultimately, you know, when we see a person's chart, it is when we connect. That's why we've got them coming on here tonight. So we've got a couple of them lined up ready to come on tonight, because we want to connect with them so Sandra can answer their questions and they can ask their questions. And so it's, you know, with any of this, it's like, these are guideposts. There's things in here. And ultimately, if we're to be empowered, this is a process of self-discovery. Astrology, this is where astrology and gene keys, I find, work so well together. Right. Because gene keys does come out of an understanding of astrology. A lot of times when people come to a gene keys, they get a gene keys mini reading from me. They're thinking that I'm going to predict for them what the next 6 months looks like. Oh, I don't do that so much with gene keys work. What I'm working with is, whatever you're meeting in life, let's look at it through the lens of your gene keys chart. Let's see how we can come to understand yourself better. And Sandra uses that same approach with the astrology, which does speak to some of the cycles. So with the astrology, we have these cycles coming up over the next little while. And so it is such a fantastic blend, being able to take, because I don't know what this in conjunction and that in conjunction and this, I know what retrograde, I mean, who doesn't know retrograde? We got what? Still got 77 planets in retrograde right now, or something like that.
I know we have lots. So Mathew, you're going to be able to put the chart up, and that.
Absolutely. I will bring up. So the first person I see her ready there. I'm going to invite on Mara, and I'm going to bring up her chart as well. So first, I will admit Mara, and we'll make sure that this is all working. So there she goes. Here she comes.
Hi, Mara.
Yes. Hi, Mara.
Hi.
And
thank you.
And I'm going to put Mara's chart up here.
Okay, this is great to see you, Mara. It's really exciting because I just did it, and I've got all the transiting planets, what's happening for you. So it's kind of like your weather report as to what's going on. And so you ask questions, and I will say specific things for you. Okay. So here is, all right, this is incredible. Okay, so
a good start.
This is your natal chart. You might have had this done before, okay? But today what I'm going to talk about is the different planets that are moving through it, okay? Each one of these houses means something, and you can see little glyphs. There's planets in there, okay? But I want to keep it really simple for you. Okay. The first thing I'm looking at though is interesting is your career is your career important to you?
Oh, yes. Yes,
Yes.
I am in the midst of creating it right now.
Well, that's really interesting because as I'm looking here, and I'm not going to say what your age is, but you are
Thank
going
you.
to be reaching a second, what we call a second Saturn return. So
Okay.
28 is our first Saturn return. And so within a year or so, that's where you are. So what you're doing right now is really interesting as you kind of look back over the last like 20 some years and it's okay, where was I then? What's happening? And where am I going? Okay, that's the neat thing for you. And right now you have a lot happening in the work part of you. So that is going to be, if you look down here in house 6, okay,
Mm-hmm.
see it just below, okay, because
Should be
what
able to zoom in there.
yeah, Pluto is sitting there, okay, Saturn is sitting there, Jupiter is sitting there, and that is your house of work, your habits, your health. How is your health?
It's pretty good. A few minor concerns, but nothing out of
Yeah,
the,
but that's all
yeah,
right. You're taking
all
care of
good.
it as long as
Yeah.
the minor. But it's about work and being of service. Okay, so
Yes.
here's the difference. If we look at house 6, that's about being of service and work. And if we look at house 10, okay, go up to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it? Okay, where I
Right.
see that little glyph there, that's what I said. Your career and profession are really important to you. That was
Okay.
my first thing to you,
Yeah.
is that that your work is going to go up through that 10th house, and that will be your career and your profession.
Okay.
So that's important to you. That's the very first thing I'm looking at. And also September 2019 to 2020, because I put a little bit of numerology in here. That's when you went through a big change.
Mm-hmm.
And the year before that would have been kind of testy
Mm-hmm.
because you had to have the change. Now, so that's your big thing, is it's about finding your place of being of service and work, because it's all about healing. Okay.
Yes.
And the next thing here is that you've got on August the 6th, right now we have Mercury that's sitting in Cancer, but it's going to be moving into Leo, and you are a Leo rising, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you, if you're going to have any important decisions to make, it's to sit with it until August the 6th.
Okay.
That makes sense?
It does.
Okay, you can play with it right now because it's a new moon. You will be thinking about different things. Right now, it's not so much about relationship. Yours is about a career also. And are you thinking of doing more, of going into more schooling or more study or
Study, possibly, not really.
no,
You're
study?
over studying, right, Myra?
I am so tired of studying.
Oh no, but you know what? You're studying yourself.
Yes.
You're going to go for a degree. This is your self-study, and this is to get you more in touch with right now. Well, you can't help it, but you must be taking some kind of study or course because it's sitting right in your 9th house, and that means more on a philosophical level,
Yes.
self-discovery.
So, yeah,
Okay,
home study. Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
what I mean.
Always studying.
And it's deep. It will always be there for you. But right now, it's been really activated as of July 1st. And then it's going to just keep on. Okay. So it's a great time for you for that, because I think that particular study is going to help you with what are you, can I ask you a question? Are you in a business right now of yourself for healing, or are you going into a business of healing, or what's happening there?
I am in the midst of creating my private practice of healing.
That's it. Okay. And so this total self-discovery that you're going through right now is going to assist you. It's almost like it's going to put the finishing touches on it. It's like shining the diamond.
Nice.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And you'll get more clarity, because it's clarity that you're really needing. And yeah, you've got Uranus sitting in your 12th house, so, and it's intercepted, so it's about, that's your 10th house. So how can I take my work and how can I make my work a strong career? And if you think of when Uranus moved in there, it would have been about March, April, or May. I don't have the exact date, but it was of 2019, because every 7 years it moves. So that kind of, were you kind of activated during those months to say, this is what I want to do or I need to do?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
I've been activated for a while, but now it's for real.
Right, and I think that's what it is. So this is all wonderful. This is wonderful. You've got some incredible opportunities. I don't see a lot of confusion here for you, which
That's a blessing.
confusion at this time. You seem to be pretty clear on actually what you're doing. If anything, what Neptune is doing for you, it's moving in and it's putting you more in touch with your healing abilities and understanding about the connection with the divine and how the healing comes through you. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
I'm getting. It's like, and I'm not, and I'm to the point where I'm feeling that you're in process of melding. So I always have to go like this when I think it's coming from the divine and it's coming here, and you're going to integrate, that's the word. You're going to integrate some different modalities, but what the training you're doing right now in your 9th house, is being activated, and that activation started July 1st and it goes right through until January 6th of 2021. That's the longest Mars has ever been activated. It has a bit of a retrograde, but it's so important that you take advantage of this. Okay.
Yes.
That's all it is for me. As I say to people, it's your choice, but I can tell you this is what I always say. It's easier to plant a carrot in the summertime than try to do it in the wintertime. I'm from Alberta. This isn't ready for it. And so your soul, not soul, your soul is ready to be activated in that area, because you're going to, whatever you're doing, you're going to take that and you're going to integrate it with your healing modalities and being of service and helping individuals. And like I said to you, your Saturn return is coming in about a year. So it all makes sense to me. Now, do you have any questions? Because I can just keep yapping.
Well, I'm happy with you just yapping, but no, actually, I don't have any major questions because you pretty much answered them. So I am feeling very positive about everything, and I appreciate because all of that looks kind of scary in the middle.
So. No, we don't worry about that. We don't worry about that. I do.
Like, wow.
Yeah, I do more intuitive, and it's really funny because I had 4 or 5 teachers over my 40 years, and they all said to me, you will do it totally different. And I just want to see where your nodes are, though. That's the only other thing I forgot to look at. Oh, okay. So you work with the 8 pattern. So think of the 8 again. I said undo it. So it's like about balancing the spiritual with the mundane, balancing the non-physical with the physical. So you're going to help that kind of process for people. It's about the body, though. It's really interesting. Everything right now is about your body.
It is.
So it's like really grounding you into what you're doing. It's like you can have all these spiritual things, but it's about, like, let's get real. We might say we're moving into the 5th, 7th, 9th dimension, but right now we're still living here, and we have to be able to be a realist, because you want to be able to assist people. Help
Yes.
So you're including all dimensions.
a Virgo sun. Yeah, because you're basically a hero with Virgo sun.
Yes.
And
Yes, and I can say grounding has been a challenge lately with all the shifts of energy. So it really
yeah,
is a focus for me.
yeah. And so
And
I don't know if you do any of the gene keys, but I've done them and I love them. They have
I do too. I lean on them constantly.
right.
what
For
the one
me,
you
it's
two
like
share in common is the 40th gene key, which has a lot to do with health and
Oh,
physicality
there
and
you go.
being. And
oh, is it?
so it's something you both carry. It's a message that you both bring to the world, I think. So,
There you
yeah.
go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that's interesting because that's where all of her things are specifically right now. So that's a huge learning. And nobody wants to be here right now because it's very painful to be here.
Oh, I want to be here. I've been working really hard to be here right
What we've
now.
been waiting for.
I'm training for this for the last 12 years.
Yes, yes. And we could go more into your cycles and that, but you're hitting the cycle. You're absolutely on time.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
for letting me do this for you and
Thank you.
many blessings. And it's looking wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you to both of you. I appreciate this tremendously.
Oh, it was fun.
It was.
Yay.
And
Yay. Thanks, Mara.
thanks,
Thank
Matthew.
you.
We'll
Thank
talk
you.
soon.
Yay.
Okay,
I think-
Bless you
that's
both.
awesome.
So we've got somebody. We've got Lisa. I just want to check and see if Yvonne is around. Because we've also got Yvonne. If Yvonne can jump onto Zoom, that's fantastic. If not, then we do have somebody else in waiting. Do you want me to kick you off, Mara?
I think so. I feel silly.
Oh, no, don't feel silly. Don't feel silly.
I will be watching from Facebook though.
Exactly.
Going to,
Perfect.
actually, how do I'm not sure if I can.
Or don't. Just don't cut me off completely.
Oh, wait, here we
Yeah.
go. Let's see if I'm removing you. You are being removed. Bye-bye.
Oh.
Okay.
We
bye.
want to remove Mara Stewart. Yes, please. Thank you. There we go. Awesome. That was awesome. There was a ton of information in there, and I think that's something you stressed at the beginning, but I just wanted to reiterate it too. Is that there's a lot of intellectual stuff to take in, but right now it's about the embodiment of this wisdom.
Yes.
It's one thing having head knowledge. You and I were talking this before.
Yeah.
It's like I got a master's degree in aerospace engineering, but you don't want me designing an airplane, right? It's like that's not something that I've worked dug deep in over the years. Whereas something like the Genekeys I've dug deep into my own self-discovery, and you have too with this. So it's one thing hearing the intellectual knowledge that comes out about our star sign and our gene keys, and it's a whole other thing to actually do the work and go in deep and be with our shadows and sit in our nodes and understand what's really unfolding right now, right?
Right. And the bottom line is, Mathew, I always remember when I took my psychology, because I have a minor in psychology with my ed degree, and a lot of different programs. And it was like, if we go back to Pythagoras and Plato and Socrates and whatever, the two big questions, who am I and why am I here? Those are the two big things.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great questions to always go into this body of work with, the gene keys or the astrology, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who am I? Why am I here? Yeah. And a lot of people want to ask, who am I going with, before either of those other questions. And then they end up in relationships that aren't serving. So who am I? Where am I going? And then who am I going with? Right.
Right. And I just have to share, because how many times I get people that call me that say, I want you to do my chart and my boyfriend. And I go, well, what about your husband and your boyfriend? And I go, no, I'm not doing either. I want to be with you. I want you to be with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a diversion. They're not whole within themselves. Okay, that takes time, and it doesn't matter if they get mad at me. I don't care, because I can't be of service to them, Mathew.
Yeah,
can't be of service. That's all I am, is here to be of service, to find some peace and understanding of their soul. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so now is Yvonne here?
So Yvonne has not showed up as far as I could tell.
Oh, we could do Lisa.
We've got a couple of people who are just saying hi here, so I want to acknowledge them.
Okay,
so we've got
perfect.
Glenda saying hi, Glenda Wicks saying hi, we've got Stephanie saying hi, we've got Jennifer saying hi, we've got Cindy Williams saying hi. Cindy knows both of us,
Perfect.
so
Yeah.
she's on here tonight. There's a few other people hanging out. So if you're just joining us right now, what me and Sandra are discussing are a little bit of gene keys, a little bit of astrology, weaving it together, and we're inviting in unsuspecting souls to rip them apart and go deep into their key and into their astrology chart. So we're going to bring on now. Lisa is waiting in the wings, so we're going to bring Lisa on, and Lisa knows both of us very well, so this should be fun. And we'll have a good laugh here. So everybody keep watching, because we'll learn. And I wanted to, just based on Mara's reading there, what's an intercept? When you say an
Okay, an interception, that's a really good question, Mathew. It's something. So an interception is a planet, okay, that is within a house. So say if my house, like with Mara, her Leo, she was a Leo rising, but she could have an intercepted planet there. So that means it doesn't come out until later. Okay, I'll see if maybe Lisa has an interception.
Right. Just some of the terms, I want to make sure that if we're using them, some of them are understandable, because we get the thread of it. Because what I love about, even though I don't understand all the words, I can feel what you're saying, and you've got such a passion for delivering people. And I also know your purpose gene key is the 51st gene key. And this is what you do. You go around. I find that you're even called to various places, because aren't you a line 3 in your purpose gene key? 51.3, is that right?
I can't remember. I just know you said to me I moved a lot, and so I actually looked at some of my photo albums, and I just had somebody put something on where I was 7 years ago. I was at a big, I don't know, in Seattle. Okay, yeah. I had a chance to be there. And then somebody put on where, I was in Hawaii. And then I have another one where I'm going to put on where I was in Malta, or I was in Muscat, Oman. I end up in places that are unreal. Okay. Yeah.
You go in there, and you're going in there, and it's like you activate people. You definitely, you've lived pretty close to us here. You've activated me, Nicole, you've activated other people that we know. It's like you have that thing. So anybody that's saying yes to a reading with Sandra, it's like you can expect you're usually attracted to Sandra, or she shows up in your life if you're ready to make a transition, if you're ready to really get to know yourself, to discover yourself. And that's Lisa that we're about to bring on here. So I want to invite on Lisa, because I know that Lisa, and Lisa.
I know Lisa.
To join in, and then I'll bring up Lisa's chart, and we'll just have a good chinwag about this chart now.
Oh my God. Where's Miss Lisa? Miss Lisa, hello.
Hello. And dogs.
And dogs. This is awesome. Okay. He's going to put the chart. Okay, I want to say, first of all, Lisa, this is really fun and exciting. And Lisa and I have worked together, okay, because I've done a session for her. She's done a session for me. I've actually interviewed Lisa on the YouTube channel, okay? And so, Lisa, we'll go through it. This is your chart. And so today, this is about what's the weather report? What's happening for you? Because you kind of, who you are and where.
That's not her chart. Sorry.
Who is that?
That was Yvonne's chart for some reason.
Okay.
I think yeah, because I mislabeled them, or did I miss? Yeah, that one is labeled as Lisa, but it comes up as Yvonne. Oh, is it showing Lisa at the top?
No, it's Lisa.
Oh, okay. It's showing Yvonne for me for some reason. Technical issue. Ignore the man behind the curtain. Ignore
Okay.
the man behind the curtain.
Okay, Mathew, this is perfect, okay? Because you asked for what is an interception. So I want you to go to that house that says number 12.
12, okay.
12, and it's got that little, it's got like a little head with two antennas on it. That's the sign of Taurus, okay?
Oh,
Her Taurus energy, which is about her south node, okay, because you can see the others because Aries rules it, is intercepted. So it's going to come out later in life. So now make it smaller again. Okay, now make it smaller again so I can see. So if we look at that, okay, guess what? On the 6th house, so everything is opposite. So 12th house, Taurus is sitting there, and guess what? On the 6th house, okay, what is going to be intercepted is her Scorpio, okay? See, because Libra it starts out with that, it's got a little line, it looks like a little teapot here, just under 38. That's a sign of Libra, but then we know that Scorpio is in there. So in her, and so make it smaller again. Let's go to smaller again so we can see the whole chart.
Really getting up and personal with my chart.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So this is perfect, Lisa, because he said, I had mentioned it before. So what happens is in her 12th house and in her 6th house, she has 2 interceptions, which were things that she was not taught through her biological family. Okay, and she will connect with other people on her life journey and they will activate that. However, her parents or her biological parents or whatever gave her double of other stuff. Oh my God, she's got another interception though. So if you look at, let's look at house number 2.
2 down below there. Okay.
And 3, 2 and 3. Okay, so she's got a double Cancer house. So that's her sensitivity and her psychic awareness and that. Then if we go make it smaller again. So now we got to go 2 and we've got to go what? 8 and 9. So that's her Capricorn because they're opposite. So she was given more like Capricorn is like structure, and Cancer was there lots of baking at your home and your home was really important when you were growing up? Like
It was, yeah.
Yeah, like really like a farm home kind of.
At my grandma's, yeah.
Right, that's
Yeah.
just it. So it was like really that kind of thing, but also at the same time, it was like spare the rod, spoil the child. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe 12. My sisters might be watching. I don't want to say too much.
Okay, but it's so interesting. But you see now Lisa has a lot of different ones because now if we go and look at 10 and we go at 11, there she's got double Aquarius. Okay, so
which one's the Aquarius? Is that,
that's the where it's got 4 and it's got those little jiggly lines. That's Aquarius.
the jiggly line?
28 is jiggly lines, that's Aquarian. And then what's in,
Is that the technical term?
pardon me?
Jiggly lines is the technical term?
Jiggly lines, that's my new technical term.
Okay.
It's perfect.
You heard it here first, folks.
And so 11, when we look at 11 and we look at what just is above 11, that's the sign of Pisces. So that's your whole intuitiveness and Neptunian and whatever. So you would have had, that would have been somebody you met really would have got you into the spirituality and healing and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If we make it smaller, let's make it smaller again, because now we got to go 11 and we got to go 5. So what's the opposite of Pisces is Virgo, and that's your healer. So you see where it says 5 and underneath it, that little glyph, that's Virgo. So you've got your Venus in Virgo and you have a moon in Virgo. Okay. Even though Leo rules that. So there's where the interception. So let's pull it down and let me say everything. So this is what I think. You were very, grandma was really important to you. You, how can I put it? What are you in Chinese astrology? Do you remember?
Rabbit.
Are you a rabbit?
Rabbit,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I would sense kind of an ox too. So Lisa, you would have been like this with your big eyes and your nice smile, and you were a watcher. You watched everything and you didn't say a lot. You didn't throw little tantrums, did you? No. Okay, so but you didn't let a lot of people in.
No.
Okay, and you were very, very private, and it took you a lot to come out. It took you a lot to find your gifts. Okay, it wasn't the easiest journey because it had to be a journey of down here on the earth. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't an intellectual journey. Does that make sense? It was a body journey. Okay, there's only one other person that I've seen with this many interceptions, and that person's life would not have been that easy. Let's put it. There was no entitlement. There was no being spoiled. There was none of that. Is that true? Okay, but the gifts they gave you, okay? So the gifts they gave you was, oh my God, when I do find this stuff, when it's activated, guess what? I'm an Aquarian. I'm a trendsetter. I'm ahead of my times. I'm electrical. Uranus rules you. So it's like, wow, anything's possible. You're really into the healing, and the healing big time. That's where we're going now, is we're into the Aquarian energy. That's the big energy. The amount of things that are going to change in the healing professions is incredible. Did you see the med bed, where you can go into this med bed and they're doing, and it's like the Tesla, the energetic medicine that's been around, it's been underground, but it's even going to get more expansive. Okay, and so then opposite of that is Leo. It's like, okay, and when I do get it all, guess what? It's like really Aquarian. I just know it. It's like lightning, okay, because Aquarian is ruled by Uranus, which is you get flashes, you get, it's like, I love lightning, but it's very Leo. So you are able to embrace it and you're able to share it. So all those years that you were within, you were like a seed, the seed, okay? And then all of a sudden, as time went on, the different seed would break at different times. Does that make sense?
It sure does.
Okay, and then the Taurus and your healing, that because that's your 12, number 12, and number 6. Oh, because yeah, you and I have similar, just opposite in different houses. And so that's really the healer, that's really the mystic. And you can see, like, so I don't know what your clairaudience or whatever is, you just have a knowing and you see. I actually think you probably see stuff, not feel it. So yours was not the easy route, okay? Yours, but you had to have that route because that's the only way you can understand the people of what they're going through. Anxiety is a big thing for you. And when I interviewed you, you have no idea how many people contacted me to say that you helped them with their anxiety because of something that you said. And today I bought a new book on anxiety because I suffer from anxiety too. And it's a trigger, okay? But it's like, and if anybody, I mean, Lisa, that's one of the things, it would be great for you to do a seminar on it. Okay?
It would, yeah.
It would. I think you need to. So what I'm looking here now, that's just, I had to explain the interceptions. But now I want to say we don't need to talk about it. You've got a full 6th house there. It's all plugged in. That's the healing house. That's all about being a healer. Okay. And it's your being of service. You're very much of service. Okay. And so what's the planets doing? Where are they playing right now in your different houses? Okay, well, one is really playing in your 12th house. Okay, so if you look at your 12th house, you see Taurus is there. Okay, right there. Well, I wish I would have made the date. It was either May or March of 2019. But Uranus, that stays for 7 years in a placement, okay, moved into Taurus. Okay, that would have affected you too, Mathew, because it just went bang that day and it stays there for 7 years. And I'm going to tell you how powerful that is. I work a lot with the transpersonal planets, which is Pluto, Uranus, Neptune. Okay, those are what I call the big heavy hitters. So in 2019, Uranus moved into Taurus. Okay, and it will stay there for 7 years. The day that it moved into Taurus, we had the huge volcano in Hilo, and I know that island very well because I lived on that island, okay? And it tore part of Hilo apart. Australia had it because Uranus is like lightning, and it changes. But what it did was it went into the earth sign. So it did something, it tore the earth apart, and we're going to have different weather patterns. Now, 7 years prior to that, it had moved into Aries, which is when we see 11 and we see the little ram. It was there. And so for 7 years, I kept saying to people, you need to wake up to who you are. You need to wake up. But the day, and I could look in my ephemeris and find it, the day that Uranus moved into Aries was when the Fukushima blew up that nuclear thing. And what's that all about? Fire. And Aries is fire, okay? And Taurus is earth. So when that planet makes a shift and a change, so that's your hugest change, okay, is you finally getting into, because it's your 12th house, okay, it's your spirituality. And so it's huge for the next 7 years, what you're going to do with that, okay, which is going to affect your work with other people, okay, with your healing. Now you got activated because you were kind of thinking about it for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And guess what? July 1st, okay, Mars moved into Aries, which Aries is that little, that is where it says 11 and it looks like 11 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
It's going for your 12th house. So anyway, Aries is there. And so it said July 1st, yeah, that's it, July 1st, where 38 was, it was 1 degree. So it was still in the 11th house. So you were thinking about it, like wishing, hopes, dreams, whatever, that type of thing. But now it's actually sitting at 12 degrees. Okay, so it's right over here, just in your 11th house. And it says, no more sitting around. No more sitting around. You're activating it. And this is important because you have 6 months. So this goes until January the 6th of 2021 for you to get to get everything ready. It's just going to come to you. Have you been having lots of insights and messages?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so it's coming to you, and there will be a time, which I'll do a video on, where it's going to go retrograde, the famous retrograde. Mars retrograde for a while, but it's going to be there. So that's your big shift. Okay. And another thing is, are you planning to do some teaching?
I've got a couple ideas in regards to like meetups, and then they do like self work through the week, and then we meet up again the next week, kind of thing. I just don't know what my main focus should be.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do have some ideas.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it, that's where, if we look in your 9th house, and that's Capricorn, and you have to remember Capricorn is the teacher.
Okay.
9th house is about learning and teaching and travel and that type of thing. So what have you got there? You got Saturn there that's retrograde, you got Pluto there that's retrograde, and you got Jupiter there, and they're all retrograde. And so they're saying there's something that you need to think about because, okay, so now this is interesting. So let's go think about this. They said, go with me, connect the dots. Because if we're looking at house number 12, that is saying you're activated about your spirituality, we know that your 11th or your 6th house is all about healing. And so now we're looking at the 9th house, okay, which is about philosophy, higher learning, that type of thing. So you might be doing something, but you might be setting up something almost like a coaching thing. And so it's like a coaching. So the coaching thing would be that, I have to tell you this story, you're not going to believe it. I got a little book given to me when I was in Hawaii in 2008. A man came in, and it's a tiny little book. It's one of my favorites. It was about this book, and he had found it in, you know how they, what do you call them? When people have storage and they don't collect their storage, then what do, Mathew? They auction it. Okay, so this man was in his 80s and he was racquetball star, so he's in great shape. So he came with my friend David, where I was living, and he goes, Alexa, he goes, I'm so excited. I found this book for you. And I look at it, it's a tiny little gold book. I got it. If I would have known I was going to talk about it, I would have brought it. So it's 9 chapters, and this man worked on the island, and he took you on as a coach. I'm telling you this for a reason. Okay? So I thought, okay, this is really cool. You know me, Mathew, you know me by now, and Lisa, it's like, okay, I'm going to look at this. This is a new journey. I want to learn. It was called Happiness, whatever. So I phoned him. He would
mastery.
Right. Okay, that's it. This man would take me on as a client. What was my deposit to give him financially? What do you think? That was
500.
35,000.
Oh.
And
1 billion.
Solid.
Yes, I will be charging 1 million.
No, exactly. But no, what I'm saying is it's about value. It's
Right.
about value is when we find value in ourselves. And if we find value, it's not about that. It's just that. And you know what? I thanked him. I said, thank you so much for letting me know. But, you know, I said, I'm sure I can study it. And I did study it. And I've studied it with other people because it's a simple little thing. Okay. But he knew his value. And all I'm saying to you is because you give yourself away. Is that true, Lisa?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Right. So now part of your learning is not to do this because you guess what? You see where that was activating in that 12th house? Taurus is all about what is my worth? What is my value? Okay. Yeah. It has to be a beneficial benefit of both people. And you need to stop dishonoring who you are. And I know that because I've done that. That's in my Genekeys. That might not be in yours, but in honoring what your gift and everything is. Does this make sense? Because you know what? If you're coaching and teaching, you're going to have to teach them the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Sandra.
See, everybody's is different.
I just wanted to say from a Genekeys perspective, because I do want to tie this into the Genekeys and
yeah.
Because Lisa is somebody who studied both. And so I'm really interested to hear what she's taken from this. But I do also see that your line 5's in your life's work and evolution. And so playing that facilitator role, that's just so perfect for you. And then I think if I remember rightly, you're a line 3 in your vocation. So, you know,
line 3.
Line 3 strategy, right? So providing people with strategies, ways to navigate, empowering them. Line 5 has a lot to do with relationship with personal power. So when Sandra was talking there, it's like, oh yeah, I can hear what I remember of your Genekeys chart. I remember line 5s because I'm line 5s in the same spots as you, I think. And so I can remember that. And so, yeah, just what you said there too, Lisa, about the facilitating and empowering them. I mean, that's so I'm interested to hear from Lisa right now, is because you've worked with both, have you have you
Yeah.
woven them together much in your journey? Like here you are being tag teamed on the Genekeys and the astrology. Have you looked at them in congruence before? Or is it kind of, you sit with each at their own time? How do you?
Well, for me, I think like we all read our astrology, weekly astrology, daily astrology, this kind of thing, and get little tips and hints, you know. And of course, when you have a reading with Sandra, it goes much more in depth. And because it's intuitive, I feel like it's more custom that way. And with the Genekeys, I feel that as well, because you're given this sort of like a blueprint. Okay, this is what your Genekeys are, but you're able to take certain like aspects of them at any given time. It doesn't have to be so structured, of course, you know, when you do the Venus sequence, that kind of thing. But I do find that what I've learned is that you can really go deep with both, right? But the Genekeys is all about me. It's all about different things in my life. So yeah, definitely deep work with the Genekeys for sure. But the two go hand in hand, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're a 19th Genekey purpose?
Yeah, 19.1.
The 19th. So when Sandra was talking about that psychic stuff, that, you know, the knowing, and everyone that I get who has that 19th gene key that is aware of it. I mean, you've got the shadow of codependency, of course, right? But the gift is the sensitivity. And, you know, so when Sandra was sharing about those aspects of your nature, it's just like 19, 19, 19. So, you know, she thinks in terms of astrology, and I hear the same kind of, and that's what I love, is where you can see those patterns weaving, the truths that are within them, and how they merge together. Because of course the Genekeys kind of was born from astrological alignments. Your chart, your the position of your life's work is your sun sign. So actually, you know, a lot of people are surprised when they find out, oh, my birthday, on my birthday, it's the gene key of my life's work, and that's always going to be the way, because it's your sun sign. So yeah, I'm always keen to hear from others who've worked with both systems and felt the influence and seen the different ways of working with them. So
yeah, no, I think the Genekeys allows you to go deeper within your chart.
Yeah.
Different aspects. Most certainly.
Yeah. And that's a word that the word deep, deep. We go deep with this, because a lot of times when you hear astrology or you hear Genekeys, you might hear it at the intellectual level, and you may think, oh, that's all it is. But Lisa, you've been diving into this for over a year now. Sandra's been working with this for 2 years, in astrology for even longer. And the other thing too is both of you have had your own healing paths long before that. You've studied different modalities, but what I love, you're continuous students, right? Like me, yeah. I'm always a student, learning something new from somebody, and there's just so much to learn in that respect. And you've both come in with that open mind, or we've all come in with that open mind with it, so that we can continue to go, because then that's what allows us to go deep. Because I find that if that moment I think I know, then I'm not going as deep.
Right.
It's like, then my mind's actually trying to protect some aspect of me from feeling something more. Yeah.
That's
awesome.
kind of the ego there, Mathew. Hey, the ego is just like, okay, well, I know that type of thing.
Yeah. That's, a lot of times when people say come to astrology or they come to Genekeys for the first time, they can hear stuff at an intellectual level and know it, but then when they allow themselves to go there, I mean, each of you've gone deep into your emotional, and it's the shadow work that we've been talking about, right? And for a lot of people may not know, I posted a video earlier this week on my Facebook page all about the shadow. So if the term the shadow is kind of elusive, because we've been throwing it out a few times tonight, it might make some more sense there. I'm just mindful of time here. We've still got people participating and watching. So obviously and actually I want to read some comments here. One is, hi Lisa. And I think that was from That was Lindsay LaFontaine.
Hello.
And, Sam saying that she's really loving what you've been sharing, Sandra. So this is really valuable to people. Everybody here is people who's been exploring the gene keys. And so you're adding some real, something really valuable here for it. So it's great to have this conversation. So just, we do have another one to move through.
Is Yvonne here?
He is not here, but
but we can look through it, but I do want to say one thing. Okay, I forgot also with Lisa, because the new moon is in Cancer, and it's really interesting because this would have assisted you today in looking at your worth and being able to communicate it and express it, because it's sitting on your second and your third. So what's your value, what's your worth, and how can you own it and feel comfortable in expressing it? Okay. Which is really important. And Mathew, when you talk about...
Actually next on my interviewee list, she just didn't know it.
Oh, good. So perfect. So when we talk about the ego, when we talk about it in astrology, we talk about the South Node and the North Node. And this is, so many people get confused about the shadow. And Carl Jung was the Jungian on the shadow work, and how I always say it is, so your soul is here, and it's very similar to the gene keys. We've just got 11 different shadows that we can look at, okay? And in astrology, we have one big one, it's the node, okay? But the whole thing is I say that, okay, we're up in another dimension, which is here, maybe another universe, whatever, and you choose your mom and dad, and you're all excited, and you come down. And the moment you're born, you forget, but you've chosen them because you know.
You want to go back home to that planet, we don't want to be here.
But I need to teach and I need to learn, okay?
Yeah.
Most amazing thing. And so guess what happens? The day I'm born, I forget everything, and that's what I'm looking for, is who am I and why am I here? And that's what the shadows, Mathew, for me, the shadows are. I've always been taught is like, there's where my gifts lie, in the shadow, the gift, okay? But under there could be suppression of ancestral, whatever, it doesn't matter, or this lifetime, or repressed, or things I'm ashamed of, or whatever. But to get to the light, to get to the North Star, okay, is where, when you're talking the cities and the gifts, and that's what I say, to get to the North Node is when I want it. But a lot of people will say, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay here because I'm comfortable. Well, I'm going to tell everybody, I don't care if you say you're comfortable. The universe is not allowing you to be comfortable. So you might as well get used to it and get the work done. One. The second thing is they say, I'm just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I'm just going to go, and I'm going to go there. It doesn't work. You've got to do the work. And that's why I love the gene keys and my astrology. And I have sat for over 1 year with confusion. And if anybody knows me, I never sat very long. And Mathew, that was the biggest thing for me in all of my studies that I did with you personally and doing the activation, and that I sat and let it distill and contemplate it, and didn't surrender to it, didn't try to control it, and things just evolved. And what I say is I burned the dross. Okay, I had to do my burning to do my healing. Okay, and so I thank you, Lisa. That was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was so fun.
That's fun.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay.
I think I'll be inviting Sandra back for more of this in the future. And I'm going to be inviting you here too as well to share some of your wisdom, Lisa. So
awesome. I'd love to. Yeah.
I know, and Lisa sees things behind everybody too, Mathew.
Well,
that's exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
It is exciting. Yeah. We have a good time.
Multidimensional she is.
Thank you, you guys. I'll be just watching on the live now. On the
Awesome.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need me to boot you off, or can you?
I think you have to kick me off, Mathew.
Oh gosh, this is.
Should I do that?
I can do. Yeah, there you go. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and you're gone.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
There we go.
Okay.
I got power to do that at any time. I could just do
I
that
know.
right now if I wanted to.
That's
But
pretty
I won't.
cool.
We'll just, so this is really great. We'll, I want to bring up Yvonne's because Yvonne's unable to make it on tonight. I haven't seen any comments from her on Facebook. She doesn't seem to be able to jump. I haven't heard from her about it. So, but we have her chart ready, and she can watch the recording of this. So we'll make sure she can check this out. I think it's valuable. You know, we won't spend as much time on this one.
No.
That's what happens when you get people you know, though, right? It's like Lisa was here, so Lisa knows us well. So those of you watching, you know, if you're looking at the Genekeys, if you're intrigued by any of this, if you're looking at your astrology chart, want to understand your astrology chart more, then definitely you can book times with Sandra. She does lots of one-on-one readings online, I believe. You don't have to do them in person. She's very thorough, very precise, and just be prepared for the truth is what I would say. Is the, you know, you can hear it in her dynamic there with Lisa. It's like if she sees something in the chart, she's going to let you know what that is because she knows it's going to help you, right? And so that's what and what Sandra said about doing the work right now. It's like, you know, we can run away from situations and leave situations, but we find out that we don't. The one thing that always goes with us is ourselves. And so we can end up in the same relationships and the same dynamics until we look within. So if something is showing up, if there's an opportunity for it, it's like, that's what I feel that the astrology welcomes in, is these, or makes us aware of these opportunities that are coming in. And so, you know, it's like when I'm sitting with my knowledge from what Sandra has shared with me about my chart, I can look at it in alignment with my Genekeys work, and there's a real depth of exploration that I can go on in that sense. So it's really helpful. So we do have Yvonne's chart here, so hopefully I'll let Yvonne know it's going to be in the last part of it. Make sure that I bring the right chart up. And
Okay, no, be sure to. Okay,
minutes.
that's perfect. That's Yvonne's. And then the neat thing, Matthew, is that all three of these charts, they are very different in what the transits are doing. As we spoke earlier, these are the natal charts, and the planets are moving around and they are activating different things within the chart. And another thing I always say, even with the Genekeys, people always go down and they take more time in maintaining a vehicle, their tires, their oil changed, whatever. You know what? Activate and do maintenance on yourself. I really suggest around your birthday, a little bit before your birthday, or if you've got some big decisions to make, take the time to have a session. Okay, so now we look at Yvonne, and the interesting thing is her big stuff is, okay, she's going to go through another big shift, or she just did. So she's been going through a shift right now. So I would say it hasn't been that easy. Another thing is she's being activated to discover more about herself, like her first house. If we go to her first house, you see number 1 and you see that little ram, that's the air.
A lot going on in that first house, right?
Exactly, but she's got a lot going on. Okay, she's got her sun, she's got her Mercury. Right, and all of that is being like because it's intercepted also, okay, it's having to be activated more. But the most important thing is on July 1st, okay, what happened was Mars went into Aries. So if Mars went into Aries and it was at 1 degree, so that would have really hit that one
So Yvonne can look at something, she can look back on her month and see if there was something that happened on July 1st that kind of...
That's right. And right now, it's sitting at 12 degrees. So it's going to start activating a lot of things. So what it's saying is take the time to discover more about who you are at this particular stage of your life, because you have done some healing. Okay, this is where it's at right now. where her Uranus is
The
sitting.
first house again, sorry?
That's her first house, is house of self.
House of self? Okay, so
Self, it's her image. Okay, it's all kinds of things. So she might be going out and saying, I'm going to get a new outfit. Maybe I'm going to get my hair cut. Okay, but it's discovering self, because it is image, but it's self. Also, what's changing for her is she's having a lot of shifts in her second house, because that's ruled by Taurus. So Uranus is in there, and she's really looking at what her purpose is. I don't know what this lady's doing right now for
well, I won't say too much because she obviously would speak for herself on this.
yeah,
But
she would. But
she
I'll
is
tell
going
you,
through the activation sequence of the Genekeys right now. So she is involved in a group and she's diving into that. So
Okay.
it's like it's aligned. I could speak for that much for her.
okay, perfect. Because what she's really going to be doing is she's really going to be discovering a lot about herself. She's going to discover a lot about her worth and value and what she can be doing in this world, what her purpose is, Mathew. That's important for her right now. What's her purpose and what the
Do
meaning.
you get a sense of what somebody's purpose is by looking at their chart in this way then? Can you get a sense of it?
Yeah, because well, hers is all about hers is about Taurus. So it's she's got her North Node in Taurus. Oh, well, that's mine. I mean, except we got a different house. Okay. And basically it's about being comfortable with finances. Okay. Being comfortable with understanding prosperity, understanding abundance, and that type of thing. But where does that really come to, Mathew? Is it comes to your own self-worth. Okay, so as she gets her worth, as she finds her worth, okay, interesting enough too is like she could like nice things. Okay, she could actually, I don't know anything about this woman, I have no idea, but I mean, she could have been at one time in kind of like having a like a little store with pretty things, or maybe even kind of something like real estate. Okay, really something of value, like something here, type of thing. Okay, that's kind of her purpose. But what is she doing it? She's bringing it from the 8th house, so she's bringing a lot about interesting other people's money. Like, I don't know, she could have been in banking, she could have been in, I'm not sure what she could have been in.
Well, actually, if without saying anything more about it, other than that, what I do know is her purpose gene key is related to the ring of prosperity. So this is all again, this is all making sense. It's all connecting. So again, I love it.
Okay, yeah, it's perfect. And it's prosperity, not just for herself, but it has to do with others also, because it's her 8th house. Okay, there's a lot going on for her. Okay, and so her big shift is going to be, which is really interesting, is way up there in the 11th house. So it's working with groups of people. It's hopes, wishes, and dreams of her own, and working with groups of people. Like that's where she's got her Jupiter sitting at 21 degrees Capricorn. Jupiter is at 21, Pluto's at 23, and Saturn's at 27. Actually, it's right on her, on where it says 27 Capricorn 49. So it's interesting. She might be looking into doing some kind of spiritual work, within groups, and having an understanding of what really is prosperity. Okay. And right now people are finding that and I wrote about this in 2004 in my first book. It was a business book for spas. It's like we are, what's the word? We are not fulfilled with money. Okay, with the material aspects, there has to be the spiritual aspect of it, Mathew. So it's a lot like it's not about the greed. It's not about. I know people that are incredibly, and to me, money is just not just, it's energy, but it's just extra zeros. So it can be 10,000, 100,000, a million. Like I don't have it. That's just the way it is. But I know people that have a lot of physical money and have a lot of material things, but they're not happy. They're not fulfilled. Okay. And I don't know, there's something about her that and then she's got Aquarius in her 11th house. So she's going through a big shift. She's been through a shift.
What would your advice for her through this shift be then?
Or my advice for her is because now I'm taking her numerology too. What this woman needs to do is she needs to find a strong foundation of self. She needs to find a strong foundation of self, which is going to help her move into what she needs to be doing. Okay.
She's also looking in the Genekeys right now. So, and she's also, she does have other spiritual practices I'm aware of. So she's doing the work right now. So she's on track, right?
Right. So she's on track. I would say the one thing about her, just a second, where she is Virgo, Moon, Pisces. So she's a Pisces rising, Pisces sun. The one thing I do want to say and this is specifically for you, Yvonne, don't get lost in that whole kind of realm. Stay pretty grounded, okay? Because you have a moon in Pisces. No, you have a sun in Pisces in the first house. You have her moon is in Virgo, which is good. But she has a Pisces rising. So she has the tendency to be very Neptunian. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to understand this, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to understand this, and I'm going to pull it together. It's just like, I would really recommend, and I don't usually do this, Mathew, is just stick with something and really hone it down. Really get it grounded, especially at the stage of life she's in, because she's just done some healing with her Chiron, okay?
Which has been in retrograde, right?
Pardon me?
Chiron's been in retrograde, right?
Yeah, and Chiron is in retrograde, but because of her age, she's gone through her Chiron return almost.
Oh, I see.
That's another thing.
Chiron is just so we can fill in the gaps here, Chiron, for those of you who are not sure, Chiron is known as the wounded healer.
Right.
And this first showed up in 1977, right? Was it?
Yeah.
The year before I was born, the wounded healer, it's the name Chiron comes from the Greek myths of the god Chiron that was the wounded healer, right?
Right.
And so that and in retrograde, because we're in retrograde with Chiron, it's meant we've got to go deep within.
And this is her work right now. And another thing is, when Chiron was discovered in 77, and one of my corporations was called Chiron Marketing.
Okay. Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
And I spelt it, but when I would be a guest speaker and people were introducing me on stage, they had a hard time pronouncing Chiron. So when it come time to do my spa consultant, I just went Chiron, Kyron. It was easier. I never wanted anyone to feel uncomfortable. But you have to remember, in 1977, Mathew, was when John Bradshaw came out with the healing the inner child. And basically that's what Genekeys is, and that's what your astrology is. Genekeys for me took me back to in the womb, in the different cycles, Mathew, the IQ, the SQ, the EQ, that type of thing, to have a better understanding. I don't know if my suggestion to Yvonne, is she needs to do the Genekeys.
She's doing it. She's good.
Is she doing it? Okay, yeah,
perfect. She's working with some of us on it, and she's very studious about it, and she's oh gosh.
Yeah, because she's got gifts, but she needs to ground herself to be able to use her gifts to work with groups of people.
Absolutely right.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me, and I'm hoping that as she's listening that it's making sense for her tonight too. And I think you've shown that it's been a very different flavor with each person. It's almost very different teachings and lessons in there. And so, you know, it's, I think that's been very useful for people. And we've still got people listening, and we haven't even done their charts, and they've been listening in. So they're getting something from listening to you tonight around this. And so what I find interesting that I wanted to share here as we draw this to a close this evening, and thank you so much, Sandra. You've gone over and above in terms of what I was expecting. So this has been fantastic. And as far as the, you know, it's like we live these cycles, and the astrology points to these cycles, these harmonics that play out behind life. And so often, you know, people will come to the Genekeys, and I'll hear them say, oh, why didn't I know this 20 years ago or 30 years ago, etc. And it's like, well, if you looked at your planet alignments 30 years ago, it wouldn't have been probably a good opportunity. But what you've been sharing tonight is a couple of the people on here tonight are people who've just begun their activation sequence journey with the Genekeys, and it perfectly coalesced with what your guidance was for them, and what you were saying. It was like, you know, that we think we're in charge of when we wake up, but there's so many other factors. It's not just the planets that affect. It's the divine will, I guess you could call it, right?
Yeah.
That's we've already talked about that 40th gene key tonight. And so I think it's really neat that it's like, yeah, these things are happening, and like anything, we don't, you know, if we know that there's challenges coming up, we can work with our gene keys, we can work with our astrology to meet them with more confidence, with more awareness, because we're going to live out our life anyway. It's just whether we do it consciously or unconsciously. And it's also, we don't have to become a victim of the planets, right? So a lot of times it's like, oh, because something's in retrograde doesn't automatically mean life is going to be shit. Right?
No.
So
Actually, it can be really good, Mathew, because it stops you and it takes you. You're to re-edit, you're to review, you're to redo, and people get crazy while Mercury's retrograde. Hey, planes still fly. Yes, computers break down. All kinds of stuff happens, but at the same time, you're just more aware of it. And I guess that's it. There's more, and then you can deliberately make decisions more consciously to make them or not. And as I said, right now for everybody listening, it's like this new moon is powerful. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you think the first half of 2020 was tough, okay, I'm not saying the second half is going to be tougher, but it's different lessons that you need to learn. It's just different lessons. You just got to stop thinking you can control it. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. Okay. And look within. Relationships are really going through a hard time. We just did a Venus retrograde, but remember, your relationship is first and foremost with yourself, then your relationships with others, more divorces, more challenges right now. But people are really starting to understand about relationships and love and what it means. It's not about somebody taking care of me. I'm going to be a vampire, or I'm just lonely. It's not working, Mathew. Okay. And so it's all good. It's all divine time, but I could go on. And this is wonderful, Mathew. The new moon is beautiful, because remember, everybody, it's planting new seeds. And just remember, because it's in Cancer, you might feel emotional, you might feel sensitive, and you might be irritated, but don't start, you know, being cranky in that. Respond rather than react would be for the next few days. And thank you, Mathew.
I think that's a great way to sum it up, really, is that respond rather than react. And if we do react, can we ask for forgiveness, or can we, it might have to forgive ourselves. We might have to ask for forgiveness, but yeah, meeting it with that equanimity. So thank you very much, Sandra. I just wanted to quickly mention a few people's comments here before we close up tonight. People were really enjoying this. Stephanie was, I'm afraid some of the comments might have got skipped out here, because it seems like somebody was saying, Stephanie was asking a question, but the previous question didn't show up. So she says, would we be able to? My guess, she said, are we able to? I'm so intrigued. I think that's in terms of having a reading here tonight. So the people that came on tonight, I put out a request over the last couple of days for anybody who wanted one. And so a couple of people jumped on. I'm sure we'll do this again. I'm going to invite Sandra back on again. I have a feeling we can create more. There's such a good dynamic here between Genekeys and astrology, and room to play with it and explore it. So I think it would be really good. And in the meantime, obviously, you've got Sandra's information is right above us here, I think. I wrote it in there, and her website's there. So you can go there to book times with her and have one-on-one readings where she'll go deep. She could spend an hour and a half with you, and you could just, really shake you up in terms of giving you some awareness. That'd be very useful. So
and the videos, Matthew. There's lots of videos
yes, you've got a YouTube channel, which is Game Changer Game On.
Right. And so it's about the new moons, the full moons, and I'll be doing one because on July 26th, the Mayan calendar starts. So we have another reboot. Okay. That's another reboot. We're doing lots of rebooting. So just sharing whatever I can to be able to assist you with what's going on, and then interviewing different people too, so that we have a community of like-minded people that people can go to, and we assist each other, Matthew. I think that's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, at this time, and guiding one another.
That was good.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody who's watching. And I'm going to be doing more interviews moving forward with other people too. We had Lisa here tonight, other people who worked with the Genekeys who really dive deep with it, and how it's transformed their life, but also just to hear their wisdom, because the wisdom of people like Lisa and Sandra and others hasn't just come from the Genekeys. It's neat to see it intertwined, but they are their own person. They're their own individual being. They've their own individual light that they're bringing as part of our collective light, which is fascinating. So we will have more of them on in the coming weeks here, because I love just highlighting what cool people are up to, and more of that. And I think that's it as far as. Stay posted on my Facebook page over the next few days. I am going to be making announcements as ways that we can continue to grow as community, but also that you can continue to study the Genekeys. I've been weaving, we were talking, Sandra, earlier, just about the things that are shifting and shaping.
Yeah.
And there's an influx of magic coming through right now. And when I say magic, I don't mean we're all out there with our wands doing things like that. You might be, that's fine too. It's that there's things happening that are unpredictable. The rules of man, the rules of spirit, there's some differences there. And so we're seeing this awakening of magic, and it aligns with the movement of Pluto right now and the 61st gene key. So it's just a really fascinating time to be alive. And so, I'm feeling that magic entering into the work more and more that we are doing here as community. And I know many of you are drawn to the Grail myth, and so that's something that's going to just resonate, come out more and more in the work that I do, because the archetypes of that Grail wisdom are so valuable to us at this time. So thank you to Sandra.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank everybody. We had fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I'm going to end this now, and thank you.